안녕하세요, 천재입니다. 천재적입니다.
사시카디 스테븐지 최민준입니다.
We are doing a movie review. I haven't done one of these in years. Like years. The last movie review that I did was when I was with Rose, when I was still before uni. Edge of Tomorrow. Hi guys, it's Amy, and I'm here with Rose. Anyways, as you can tell by the title, we just went to see the advanced screening of Marvel's Black Widow. It is amazing. He cried before the movie started. I cried. I didn't think I was gonna cry in that part, but I just did, and I was like, when he started singing, I just cried. I was like, that's just too sweet. Oh my god!
Shouldn't we put in here spoilers? Spoiler alert. So this whole video is going to be like massive spoilers. So
yeah, so
if you haven't seen it,
this is a full review breakdown of the movie. So if you have not seen it yet, do not watch this yet. Go watch the movie and then come on back
and tell us what you think.
Yes.
All right. So let's start with the start of the movie, or pre-start of the movie.
Oh, where you were just bawling your
I was
eyes
bawling
out.
my eyes out. So they did like a trailer release for all their new movies coming up.
Yeah,
and
so coming out this year and next year.
They also added extra scenes from previous movies. They even did like a live video for
first screening of Endgame
and certain scenes in that, and they full on give you the audience's reaction to what's happening.
Avengers on your left. Avengers assemble.
And everyone was screaming and everything. It was quite dramatic and quite good.
Yes.
But there was certain scenes.
There were certain scenes, yes, but I think the part that I got emotional watching that too. I didn't cry. I got emotional because it was the voice of
Stan
Lee.
Yeah.
Like, you hear his voice and he's kind of narrating the whole thing, saying basically like that we're one big family, and I'm like, ah!
Yeah.
And then you saw Chadwick.
Yeah, I was crying because like just seeing these new movies and knowing that Tony Stark died, it was just bringing like that whole emotional side of there's not going to be any more Iron Man movies or anything to do with Iron Man.
But you don't know that. They could do another thing with Pepper Potts or their daughter.
Yeah, they
sometime in the future.
But you know.
I know it's not going to be. It's not going to be Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark.
Because you know that he was my favorite. Like he is my favorite Marvel character.
We're talking about Black Widow. So
that was just the start. Like, so they throw all these emotions at you just before the movie starts, and so you're already wound up from just watching all that.
Yeah.
And then it starts off it was surprising. They went way far back.
We're not huge on the comics. We didn't really know of the history of Black Widow. But basically this story starts off right back when she was like a child, and the family life that she has. And then it kind of goes quickly past through a couple of things to do with that, which was like, it was centered on the relationship between her and her sister, her little sister.
But
and that relationship, and then you bring in the mom and then the dad, and then it's this whole thing. And like right from the get-go, you know that this is Natasha. Like, you know that like her entire life she's been this headstrong, like, I can do this to help save myself and save the people that I love, save my family. Like, right from the get-go, which is just amazing to see that. Like,
Well,
I mean...
you could tell from one of the next scenes when they escape to the islands with the bad guy there that she'd already been through a training process already. Like,
yeah, so it was mentioned that she started this training, this part
when she was younger than her little sister.
when she was younger than her little sister. And I think her little sister was about...
Oh, she looked really young.
6?
She looked really young.
Like, she was really little. Like, in the beginning, Natasha looked like she was a preteen.
Yeah.
So... But, like, she was, like, risking it all. She was going up against armed soldiers with a gun to get them to not
take
touch
her
little sister.
Yeah.
Even to touch her little sister.
Yeah.
She was like, stay the F away from her. Do not touch her. Do not take her.
And she was already speaking fluent Russian.
Fluently. And so it starts off with this whole bit, and then it fast forwards to
21 years later.
Yeah, that's what it says. So it fast forwards to right after the King of Wakanda dies. So
it fast forwards to in between. I've got it here. Black Widow is set between Captain America: Civil War and Avengers: Infinity War.
So basically, when Black Widow and Steve Rogers, when Natasha and Rogers were on
the run,
yeah, basically, is the majority of this movie. Basically, the entire movie, apart from right at the beginning and then right at the end.
Yeah.
It's cool to see what she was up to, finding out more about her character and things, because, like, in Endgame and stuff, you find out things about her past, like with the Red Room, and you find out that she can't have kids because she doesn't have a uterus anymore, because that's what the Red Room does. They just kind of, like, take everything.
Yeah.
They take everything out. If you don't know the comics and stuff like that, you already know a little bit about that. So you find out more about that organization, basically. It's one of the reasons why I love Marvel movies. It's into a perspective, Black Widow as a movie, to me, is very similar. You'd have to, like, stay with me on this.
Okay.
To Train to Busan. Because in Train to Busan, it is a movie about zombies, it's a zombie apocalypse, it's this, but right at the heart of it, it's about a father and a daughter. Black Widow has all of this action, all of this backstory, all of this, but at the heart of it, it's family.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Once you watch this movie, if you've seen Train to Busan, if you're a fan of Train to Busan, blah, 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 you will understand kind of where I'm coming from by that. But Marvel does that really, really well.
Yes,
there's always a heart of the story.
The underlying.
That isn't really... I mean, it's in the forefront. It's literally the base of the story in the movie, but it's not always right in your face. But it, like, you know what I mean? Like, it still has all of the funny. It still has all of the comedy. It still has all of the action. It still has all of the big, massive story and everything like that. But at the heart of it, every single Marvel movie is either about family, love, like, it's about relationship, a kind of relationship, whether that be a relationship of finding yourself, like Captain Marvel, or, like, you know what I mean? And it's done so well. There are so many scenes in Black Widow that I absolutely loved and are so eye-catching and so everything, but again, it's about family underlining forefront, both of them, and I love that because it makes it seem more real, which I'm kind of going on a bit of a tangent, but it's one of the reasons why I didn't like Wonder Woman quite as much, because there wasn't really an underlining heart of a story for me.
And
yes, that's a good story, but it needed more of a heart of an underlining story to it, which I feel like it didn't have. Whereas this one definitely did. You're introduced to so many different characters, new characters. Does it feel overwhelming because of that underlining heart of the story that's gone throughout all of it? Now, I don't know if that's more of my English or drama kind of mind coming into play with that.
You find out that the director of the Red Room was supposedly meant to be killed. Like, Natasha had pretty much... The mission to kill him didn't actually kill him.
Yeah, well, I mean, because it was mentioned in the other movies that to become an Avenger, she had to... Like, she got rid of the Red Room. Like, she got rid of that organization. That had been mentioned before. But it kind of goes into more detail of how she did that, or how she thought that she had completed that mission with the help of Barton. So I thought this movie was going to touch more on the fact of how her and Clint became friends and everything like that, and have more of Clint, but it really didn't. It had like mentions and like stuff of him throughout, like in scenes, like in one of them, like, oh, what gun did that? It was arrows. Okay, well, that was Hawkeye who'd done that. Like, and there was little like Easter egg kind of like mentions and stuff like that of Hawkeye, Clint Barton, Hawkeye, but you didn't get to see him, because if you remember back in like Avengers and stuff like that, the first movie, when they're like kind of talking about it, and when Natasha's talking to Loki, there's like, oh, like he helped me in Budapest and he did all of this. I wanted to see more of that story.
I thought that was part of it, but I also thought we were going to see more of the training from the Red Room and what they actually did to her.
You see, I was expecting that as well.
Like, I was really expecting to see a lot more kind of gruesome techniques that were used to show us how Black Widow was trained, how she was actually created.
Yeah. Because, like, in the movie, it basically was just like, oh, and you escaped. Like, no one was supposed to escape, but you escaped. How did you do that? And it never actually...
Yeah.
You never actually find out how she escaped, really, or what she fully went through. And I think that would be a really interesting movie just to kind of explain more about that. And, I mean... It's Marvel. They could go back and do something like that.
I think they won't, because it leaves up to the imagination.
Because of this movie that has come out and it's kind of just bypassed all of that, I highly doubt that they'll have a full-on movie about that. There still may be some flashback scenes or something like that. But I'm excited to see what comes next in it. So we're kind of flashing forward to the end. You meet her little sister. I, for one, didn't know she had a little sister.
Neither did I.
Or that she had parents, like parent figures in her life. I thought it was just like she went through all of this training, she went through this, and she was just there, and then she escaped somehow, and then she did all of this.
Yeah.
Which is kind of true. Like, all of this part of the story that you see, you don't see much of, but...
From what you get told, the story of her family was a rough period of 3 years.
3 year... Like a 3 year...
Operation.
Operative.
Which she knew was an operation, but her little sister didn't.
Which you find out. And that's such a heartbreaking scene.
Yeah.
Like, that scene when they come back together as a family.
Reunion.
The family reunion is so awkward.
So funny.
But also really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because you can see, like, when they first break him, also him in jail was freaking hilarious.
The father.
The father was in jail because he was put into jail.
By the bad guy.
But he's kind of like a super soldier.
He was the first Russian super soldier.
Yes. So you could see him just like arm wrestling and just demolishing all
everyone.
Of these people.
Yeah.
Even like the big guy. That was really funny.
he was just like bang.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, did I break the wrist?
But when that whole escape scene is like really fun and cool. And amazing how they do that and still have the bickering of the two sisters going like, oh my gosh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And they're even bickering to him. He's just like, are you going to help me? And he's just like, just get to the freaking roof. Just don't make a scene. You made a scene, didn't you? Oh my, and it's like such a family dynamic kind of way to do it. The interactions, you can see that like her first interaction when she meets her sister is just hostile. And then they kind of make a truce and talk and stuff. But there's always that, like, tension between them. And then when you bring the father into the picture, there's even more tension between the two sisters and the sisters with him.
You
and
feel
him
like
and
it
the
could
sisters
snap at any
like
time.
And
mate.
then,
that was
like, the
incredible.
line that Natasha says, like, he's basically talking about himself. And she's just like, you have not seen us in 20 years. And the only thing you want to talk about is yourself. Like, what is up with that? And because he doesn't think about it. And then when they meet up with the mum, that whole scene is so funny because you can see that they've pretty much just slipped so easily back into family life. And you think that everything's gone well. And as you can just see Natasha's just like, I'm having absolutely none of this. You are not my family. This is not real. This is not. And that whole speech, you can tell that she's so hurt. She is so hurt and getting out her frustrations. But when her little sister is just like,
it was real.
Can you not say that? You are all saying that it was fake and it was boring and it was stupid and you hated it. But it was my life and it was real because you guys, no one told me it was fake. Like, she grew up thinking that this was her family, not knowing it was an operative, thinking it was completely all 100% real, and then out of the split second, leaving Ohio and going straight into the Red Room kind of training. Like, it was so heart-wrenching for her because you could feel it. You sympathise with her so easily. And...
Oh, one of the first scenes where with the vial, it drops and she gets it in her face to wake up from the chemically induced coma, and she's realised she stabbed the person.
That she's just killed someone.
That she just killed like she knew her.
Yeah.
Because she was like, oh my god, what have I done to this? Like
they were friends
or something like that.
They had been friends.
And so she'd been released from the chemically induced mind control.
Yeah.
Because as Natasha and the sister were explaining, is there's two sorts of mind control. The mind control that Natasha went through was psychological. So that's how she was able to break free, was because it was all mental. Whereas the chemically induced mind control, you're not
it's a lot more dangerous.
You're not able to escape unless you have the antidote.
Yeah,
is basically how they were explaining it. That scene where she realizes that was heart-wrenching.
That was, yeah.
And then she runs off and she gives the mind control medicine to her sister,
who she hasn't spoken to for 20 years. And then this murderous thing comes after Natasha and she's like, oh no, heck to the nah, blah, 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 blah. I was like, oh, you're not after me, you're after this box. Well, I'm going to take whatever's in that box. See ya.
And she takes that stuff to put the place where she was trying to keep the medicine out from. That was good. And then at the end, when you find out who the monster is...
Yes. But...
Like, who you find out the soldier is.
Yeah. So basically, with going back to, like, the family reunion scene, when the little sister breaks, it's so heartbreaking. And you can see in Natasha's eyes that she's just made, like, a terrible mistake. But then it's very... touching how the dad kind of just went, okay, I'm going to go talk to her. And she's just like, I came in here to be alone. I didn't want to talk. And he's like, okay, let's just sit down. And he starts talking about his childhood and fishing and ice fishing and all of this. And that whole family was like really weird. Like that whole family story. And she's just like, can you just leave? Like, what the hell are you even talking about? And he's like, I have a point to all of this. No, you've just said that whole thing was really boring to you and you hated it. You hated me. I was just the problem. I was just your
I was a chore.
Yeah, basically, I was your chore. But it was real for me, and you don't understand. You don't understand that. So just leave. And then he starts singing American Pie.
Which was her favourite song.
Which was her favourite song. And when they're fleeing, she's like, oh, can you put on my song? And it was that. And it has such an ironic tone to it because it's like, this is the day that I'm going to die. And in both situations with that song in the movie, they could have very easily just been murdered. So that's kind of like the Marvel fun comedy part coming out of it. But that was the part that I just cried. Because I sympathize with this so much. And she's heartbroken. She's like, you don't care about me. This was real. You were my family. I thought that you guys were my family and loved me the same as I loved you. And I'm finding out that even more so that you guys just did not give a crap about me and all of this. And then he starts singing the song and she's realizing. And in that moment, I think it was more of him realizing as well that he really did care about them and he really did love them and he did really care about it. He was just so into getting his glory back of being a super soldier.
It wasn't that. It was because the guy that, the big bad boss, gave him this for him it was a mediocre task because he was the first super soldier.
Yeah.
And he was like, why are they giving me such a dull task? I should be doing stuff like Captain America. It was like, I want to be able to do like physical work. Not like... He
wanted to be more of the, like, fighting, like, Captain America, Avenger kind of person. And they kind of went, no, you can go do this. Which I understand. But in that scene, when he's singing that song to her, is the first scene that you really see him going, I miss that part. I miss having that family unit. Yeah. My pretend wife was smoking. Like...
Oh, he was trying to hit on her so hard.
They were. And that whole scene is just like, oh my gosh, they're connecting again. And then frickin'...
Well, the mum started connecting again with
Natasha as well.
And then she's realised...
And she's realised her mistake. But again, she didn't realise that the mind control stuff that she helped create was being used on her youngest daughter. She didn't realize that it would be affecting her family. So when the little sister said that, she's just like, oh, and like, you're an idiot because that whole thing, you know who they tested that on? It was me.
Yeah.
And stormed off. And that was kind of a thing of going, oh my gosh. So there was all of this. It was just such a good scene. And again, there was action in it, but it had them, again, with Marvel movies, they have those moments of humanity and family. Every movie, sometimes it's a long scene, sometimes it's a short scene.
That's how it kind of felt like it dragged on a little bit. When they were sitting around the table, that part kind of felt like it was a little bit long.
I can see where you're coming from, but coming from the mind of, like, an acting student and, like, theatre, like, movie acting kind of mindset, you needed that time in that scene for the outburst of both Natasha and the little sister to have gravity.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would have felt rushed. I didn't think that necessarily went too long. I felt like it was like a good, like if it went any longer, it was all about timing, and I feel like they got that timing right. After that, you kind of have the big whole action.
Well, it moves on at the house, the mum has alerted the Red Room that they're there, and so they come to get them. You think that the mum has captured them, and they're all headed towards their
do you think the
doom
mum
or whatever.
The mum hasn't, like, the mum's just working for the Red Room. Like, she's not. She hadn't felt anything. She was just, she was still working for the bad guy. She was still this. When it really wasn't. And you kind of have that, like, callback when Natasha's got, like, the different face on. Because Natasha switches places with her mum. And it's the same thing. Which movie was it? Where she was just playing that other, like, secretary woman. Because, like, he was going to be like, oh, I'm going to control the world and with this button. And she was just like, oh, really? Punch. It's actually me. And then Nick Fury comes back and he's just like, you probably got rid of all of my, like, data in this thing. But you didn't think of my eye that's got the eye patch on it. How do you not remember this? She had the same thing. Like, it was like a face thing. And then she had the thing attached to her.
Oh, that scene in Winter Soldier.
It's Winter Soldier.
Sorry. Did I step on your moment?
Right,
yeah, that part. It was a
yeah.
callback to that because she had the same kind of face.
Yeah, I remember now.
I thought was, like, really cool as well because it's still bringing it back to things that she's learnt over the years and stuff like that.
So they face swap. The mum and the Natasha face swap.
Yeah.
They go up to the bad hideout, and she can't actually punch the guy for some reason or kill him.
Yeah, it's a like suit person that you see throughout the entire movie. You find out
who she
is actually the daughter of the big bad guy. I can't remember what his name is. Because the whole thing is that Natasha thought that she killed him with the help of Hawkeye way back when. And the way that she had done that, because she needed out so badly, is that she waited until his then very, very small daughter, like primary school daughter, came into his office to see him, waited, made sure that she was in the office with him, and then gave the order for Hawkeye to blow the building up, basically. So when she finds out that he's still alive and everything, she's really confused. But you find out... I killed him. You find out that... And, like, you find out that she's been living with the guilt of killing the little girl. And you find out that it is her. Like, she survived. They both survived. She's just... Her face was pretty much half blown off. And again, that side of humanity... So basically, he does this whole big reveal with that, and then he lets her leave to go kill the mom, basically. And Natasha then tries to shoot him, and she can't. And he's like, oh, is the safety on? Takes it, shoots up in the air. Oh, no, it's not. Why don't you try the knife? And she still can't get to him because you find out that he's got his office with this pheromone kind of thing, which is like very similar to the mind control chemical.
So you can't hurt him.
For females, when you smell it, they can't hurt him. He basically shows her, like, starts beating her up, and she's like, oh, like, you don't think I can take a punch, whatever. Being really snarky and really funny. And then he basically shows her how to get into this big computer thing, tells her the entire plan, like every baddie does, because they're stupid. And
he was so
cocky. Basically, and then telling her that he's got thousands and billions and trillions of women all across the world who are just ready to do whatever the hell he tells them to at the drop of a hat. Like, he runs the world because he's got, like, he's got the weapon that the world will never run out of, which is girls, basically, because he takes them. It's a bit like the in Star Wars with the clones,
kind of, yeah,
taken as like little children and just taught to be killers, basically. And then you find out that she's like, Natasha had already found out about all of the pheromones and everything like that.
And she was
from
trying to
the
get
mum.
him to break her nose.
And her mum basically like, you can't hold your breath. The only way that you wouldn't be affected is if you sever the nerve like right there. And she's just like, I can handle that. So basically she has this whole big speech, which is really funny, and then just goes, oh, and by the way, since you were too weak to do it, I'll do it myself. And freaking headbutts herself onto the table and severs this nerve in her. I'm like, what the hell?
And then she starts beating him
up. She starts beating him up. A whole bunch of other widows come in, and he says like, cool, kill her. Leaves. Like an idiot. And then the little sister who had escaped from her own
She was after the medicine again.
Found the vials, medicine, and threw it into the air just as they were beating
Black
Natasha
Widow.
up pretty badly. And saved all the other widows. And then Natasha downloads all of the stuff, the files and everything like that.
Because she steals the ring off the guy's finger.
Which is really funny.
Because he notices and he goes,
oh my gosh, we need to go back. But at this point, like, the mum had already... That was so funny. She freaking, like, destroys one of the engines. The whole thing is blowing up and coming down, and she just has her little daughter, the younger daughter, in her earpiece, and just goes, change of plans. I've accidentally just destroyed the engine, and we're coming down. And you're just like, oh my god.
we're coming in for a controlled landing.
Yeah, we're coming in for a controlled landing. It's
it
like
was
so
so funny.
nonchalant about it. It was so funny. And then Natasha saves the daughter, leaves... little sister then destroys the plane, this like getaway plane that the big baddie is on,
and it blows up
and
with him on it.
Blows up basically, and she goes flying off, falling to her death. And Natasha jumps off with a parachute, basically catches her mid-air, puts the parachute on her sister, pulls it, and then sees his daughter in the whole thing. She's brainwashed as well, basically coming at her. So she lets go of her sister, falls to the earth with the daughter, and then fight for a bit, and Natasha ends up putting the serum, so she's set free. And first
question
thing
she asked,
that she does,
is he gone?
basically is Natasha says she's I'm so sorry, and the first thing she does is he gone? And she's like, yes, he's gone. And then right at the end, they're all reunited. She finds her little sister again, and it's so cute because she's just like, it was like, I'm so sorry, my little sister. And she's like, it was not fake, it was all real to me too. And they hug for like the first time since you see like right at the beginning of the movie when they were children. Then the parents meet up again, and it's really cute. And you think you have like this whole, I mean, we know what happens with Black Widow, but it's this whole thing of you're like, oh my gosh, they're a family now, and they can be a family again. And then one of the heads of like S.H.I.E.L.D. comes after her because they've been following and trying to catch Black Widow the entire movie. And failing. And so basically the family breaks up, and she's just like, look, if this family, this little unconventional, toxic, weird as heck family, if we can make things work, then maybe there's the slightest chance that the Avengers can get back together. And so they all leave with the widows to go help save all of the other infected widows around the world. And she goes back to S.H.I.E.L.D., which we all know. And it was such a good movie. There were so many things in it, and I really, really loved it. I really like this movie. We have a post-credit scene.
Yeah, this is my favorite part.
There's a article on the internet about a leak from the movie that talks about the whole movie and the ending scene.
And the post-credit scene, yes. So, and this one said that it revealed that Hawkeye will be making a cameo appearance in Black Widow in the post-credit scene. And then it goes on to say that Clint was standing at Nat's grave with his kids. So that's what they thought was going to be the post-credit scene for the end of Black Widow. Because the whole problem that people were having was the fact that when Black Widow died in Endgame, she didn't really get much credit like Tony Stark did with his whole funeral. She kind of just got like the Hulk being sad about it, and that was it. And then they just wrapped that up. So they just give like Tony Stark this whole big funeral, and he gets all this credit. So they didn't really give Natasha any credit at all.
Yeah.
So basically, what people thought they were going to do with the ending of Black Widow was kind of give her a little bit more credit to wrapping up the plot hole or whatever it was. So the ending of Black Widow is her sister riding up to somewhere, and you don't know what she's doing. And then she comes across a gravestone, and at first I thought it was going to be Natasha and her over there, Natasha's mum's grave.
Yeah.
Because they bring that up. That's what I thought originally was going to happen, but it turns out that she drove up to Natasha's grave. She's standing there. She's paying her respects. There was this other lady standing there. And yes, Hawkeye does make an appearance. But he appears on the tablet, and the lady is like, this is the reason why Black Widow is dead.
No, that's not what she says at all.
She says this is the guy whose fault it is for Black Widow being dead. That's what she says.
Stop. So
don't tell me to stop. That's what she says.
Stop. So she comes up. We don't know really who she is.
No idea.
And the sister's basically just like, this makes you look desperate. This is my holiday. This is my day off. Leave. So basically she's like, I have a new assignment for you. And I thought that I would give it to you in person. I thought that you would want the chance to take out the person responsible for your sister's death.
Yeah, what is it?
And basically gives her the tablet, and it's a picture of Hawkeye. And that kind of just ends. And you're just like...
Yeah.
But he wasn't! It was Thanos! It wasn't Clint! He wanted to sacrifice himself, but she wouldn't let him!
Yeah, she willingly gave up her life for that soul.
So... that just teases like a whole new stuff. But I'm looking forward to more movies with Natasha's sister and how she'll fit into the Avengers world or what she's really doing. Because her sister is such a funny character.
She broke free from the mind control and
but it's still open. It still opens the question of who that lady was and who that lady is working with and who what Yelena is like, what is it? Yelena is like working for now, if she's not working for herself. And then it also leaves open like what happened to her parents. Are they still what are they doing? So I'm looking forward to another movie with her. And I think it would be a really interesting story to see unfold between her and Clint.
How about the scene where the father's like, oh, I'm so proud of you girls. Your pledges must be full of blood.
Oh, he's basically like, yeah, I loved you two so much and you grew to be so good and you there's so much blood on your hands. I'm so proud of you. And they're just like, get bent. Like... but no, I'm really looking forward to seeing a story unfold about Yelena and Clint, because when Clint realizes who she is as well, I feel like that, I don't know how that is going to go down.
No. I can't wait for these other movies coming up either.
I'm so looking forward to the new Black Panther. I'm looking forward to the new Guardians. I'm also really looking forward to Doctor Strange, the new Doctor Strange, the new Thor. But the one I'm looking forward to the most, which I have no idea anything about except for this one fact, is the Marvel one, the new Captain Marvel, because Soyeon is in it. Apparently. One of my favourite Queen idols is in it. And I'm blowing my mind because I'm so looking forward to the fact that he's actually in it. I think it's just a cameo or like a small part, but I don't care. He'll be in the universe. And I'm really looking forward to it. And I agree with many, many, many K-pop fans that they should have put Bangtan in it.
Anyway.
Yep. Yep.
I think that movie overall was 8.5, 9 out of 10.
Yeah. I really, really liked it.
That whole section at the house was kind of like a dry humour for me. Like, I found it very...
You see, I liked that scene because it showed more of the humanity and family
I was just
aspect.
finding it so dry and so kind of necessary evil. Because they had to show family kind of reconnecting but when you first see Natasha and Yelena, they fight.
Yeah.
And that was a good way to introduce her sister. Was the fact that the first thing they do when they see each other is try to kill each other because they're trained killers. But that's the scene at the house was kind of just like really dry for me. And like, kind of hard to swallow. But yeah, I definitely give that movie 8.5, 9 out of 10. Definitely not what I expected.
No, not exactly what I expected, but I'm really happy with it.
We've pretty much just spoiled the whole movie for you.
Well, like I said, this is more of like a review kind of breakdown of the movie. We're going to leave that here. If you like this video, press like button. Leave us comments down below. Share this on social media if you'd like to. All of my social media links down below. So go check me out, follow me, from me on all of those. If you'd like to leave any requests or suggestions for more videos that you'd like to see on my channel, and please leave them down below and I'll get to them as soon as I can.
You know what I was going to say? That scene, the end credit scene, it didn't really give her justice either. It kind of just gave it another link to another movie, unlike Tony Stark. Because Tony Stark got a massive funeral and she gets a lady laughing at her gravesite. I think if you had seen Hawkeye with his kids at Natasha's gravesite, that would have been a lot better.
Yeah, but I mean, the other thing with that is that I don't know where that gravesite is, but I feel like it would have been more touching if the gravesite was either on or close to the farm that Clint owns.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, obviously he's trying to keep his family out of the spotlight and everything like that, and having Black Widow's like grave at his house would defeat the purpose. But having that there because she was such a massive part of his life and his kids' life and his wife's, like his family's life. But anyways, if you are a Marvel fan, let us know. And if you've seen Black Widow and if you've made it through all of this, hopefully you would have seen Black Widow. Otherwise, I'm so sorry for all the spoilers. Let us know what you thought about the movie.
Yes.
Well, that is it for this video, and we will talk to you very, very soon. Kirby face.
Annyeong.